Hello everyone, welcome down to a bit of a different video today. We're at Garforth Golf Centre. We've done a bit of a Titleist wedge fitting today with the guys from Titleist. They're doing a thing called Titleist Thursdays every Thursday down here at Garforth Golf Centre in Leeds. They're doing some free fitting, so hopefully we'll give you a bit of an insight as to what I'll be putting in my bag soon, and a bit of education about wedges, different grinds and different bounces and stuff, so let's get into it. Right, so first things first, before I actually went in for my wedge fitting, I bought a basket of balls and I just went onto the range clipping a few wedges away just to get warmed up, and then I made my way down to meet the gent who was doing my fitting for the day. It was called Fraser Jones. He was a lovely gent. We had a good 45-minute session in the fitting. The first thing that we established was the distance of my pitching wedge. So as you can probably see on the video, I clipped a few pitching wedges away. And he said to me, he asked me what was my most lofted club that I like to use, which was a 60 degree. We determined that my pitching wedge was 47 degree, and with my lob wedge being 60, we then kind of said that we needed two wedges to fit in between. We then looked at my current wedges, Ping Glide 2.0s, and then we started comparing them to the SM7s. The first SM7 that I hit was a 50 degrees. Now, the 50 degree SM7, it comes in two bounce options, both in F grind, which are primarily designed for the full shot. So I had a few shots with the 12 degrees of bounce. It was okay, a little bit inconsistent with my dispersions, but then I tried the 8 degrees of bounce and it was much better. I saw a much better front to back dispersion, which is the most important thing for me. I believe I can control left to right dispersion much easier than front to back, so the wedge probably does a lot more work in that sense. So it's then crucial that I found a wedge with the correct bounce, which is helping me hit those numbers more consistently. We then moved into the 54 degrees. In this wedge I was fitted for the standard sole, which is the S grind, also known as the STRICKER grind because it's the one that he has had a lot of input in on tour with the manufacturing. It's 10 degrees of bounce, this one. Again, this was the one that gave me the best numbers. I used a variety of grinds and bounces, compared them all, and this was the one that came out on top again. Interestingly, with regards to the shaft, I found that in my 50 degrees we matched it up to the rest of my irons, which is the Project X 6.0, but when we were testing 54 and 60 degrees, I went into a slightly softer shaft, so I've actually got the 5.5 Project X's in my 54 and 60. This means it's a little bit softer in flex, and as a rule of thumb, if you go slightly softer in flex, it ups your spin rates a little bit. So just to make sure that we saw consistent gapping again with my 54 and 60, we went a little bit softer, so spin rates climbed ever so slightly, but more for myself it meant that I would be able to hit the numbers that I was attempting to hit, so more around the 100 to 105 mark with the 54 degrees, and then roughly 80 yards with my 60 degrees. I also found that left and right dispersion also came in with the slightly softer shaft as well. It's probably because I'm not hitting it as hard, and I found that with it being a little bit softer, I could just control that flight a little bit better as well. With the grind fitting process again, we went through the same procedure with the 60 degree, and we didn't finalise a grind in the 60 degree because I said to Fraser that this is more likely to be used around the greens, and I like to kind of play about with it with regards to opening the face and doing some funky stuff with the wedge. So we kind of made it a priority that we then went onto the grass and seen how it interacted with turfs and stuff like that. So as we went out onto the grass, we tried all the different grinds in the 60 degree wedge. We tried some shots which were conventional pitch shots, some high flop shots which exposed the bounce a little bit more, and we also tried some little conventional short chip shots just to get the best feel that we could about which wedge felt the best and which wedge was performing the best. Some felt really good, some felt slightly unforgiving, so that on the ever so slightly off-centered hits I feel like they weren't as close to the holders which I would have liked. And a couple which I do believe had a lot more bounce on felt as though they were very bouncy, which was the way I described it to Fraser. So in the sense that I feel like I was making a good strike, but because there was a lot of bounce angle, that they were kind of deflecting off the turf a lot more as instead of going through it. And then once we decided which were the best grind in the 60, we went back inside with the last kind of few shots to consolidate. And then from there, me and Fraser had a little bit of a discussion about my new wedge setup, and now it's going to benefit me in the long term.
So the beauty of this one, we've got here so if you, at the bunker you can open it slightly.
Yeah.
So brilliant for what you're telling.
Yeah.
Again, I didn't tell you what we were using, but really.
Well, what a day. That was proper interesting. That really good. Cheers to the guys down at Garforth Golf Centre for sorting us out today. The 3 wedges that I got fitted for in the end, I'll put a little note as to what they were. I got a 50 degrees in the F grind, which is the full grind, meant for full shots. I got that in 8 degrees of bounce. I got the standard sole, which is the S grind, in my 54, which is going to be bent to 55, which is something that I already do to keep consistent gapping with my wedges. That is in 10 degrees of bounce, I do believe. And then in my 60 degrees, I went for the M grind, which is in 8 degrees of bounce. So we tried a variety of different kind of wedges and grinds. It was all a blind test, which was brilliant. So the guy who did the fitting, really good. Shelley's just walking past there. See you later, Shell. He was really good, really cooperative. So he gave me a load of different wedges, did a blind test. He says, tell me what you think, give us some feedback. Give him plenty of feedback, and they were the wedges that came out on top. So as soon as I've got them in my bag, I'll do a proper review of them. But yeah, absolutely delighted with the way that went today. Cheers for Sheldon for helping us film. He's just over there. And yeah, so if you're not subscribed already, please do so. Give us a like and a share if you don't mind. And until next time, cheers.
Easy.